What is going on, everybody? ZyoniK here, and in today's video we are using Smack Down Chesnaught. Yes, a strategy that I used a little over a year ago, if you guys have been following the channel for that long, and it plays out so perfectly. When you safe swap the Chesnaught, the Charizards cannot swap in fast enough, and they regret it every single time. Last year, it was Charizard and Talonflame. This year, it is Charizard. It's a lot of fun to use. Hope you guys enjoy. All right, getting into the first battle here. Now, these battles were scattered over a couple of days because I wanted to showcase the safe swap. So, here we go. We have Swampert here on the lead. All pretty good matchups for our whole team, right? Now, again, I am reading, this is a common team. It's Swampert, Charizard, and Walrein. I'm reading that there is a Charizard in the back. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and throw the dynamic punch right there. I'm going to let them throw their charge move, and then we're going to swap out into Chesnaught right away. Swamperts as well are very fearful of the Vine Whips. And look, in comes the Charizard, and look at that smack down damage. It is absolutely destroying. I'm going to go ahead and invest a shield right here as well. You don't necessarily have to, as the Dragon Claw will not KO you. But I wanted to fully farm down and have a bit of health so I can maybe get off 2 superpowers against Walrein if it decides to come in. And again, Poliwrath is a really nice core breaker as well for Charizard and Walrein because it just does so well against both of them with Scald and Dynamic Punch. But you could also run it with Ice Punch if you want a bit more coverage to maybe Grass-type Pokemon or the Dragons or Flyers. So we are able to get to 2 superpowers here against the Swampert. Hopefully we can get a shield. We do right there. Beautiful. So all shields are down. And this is looking to be a good game. If it's the team that I think it is, which would have a Walrein in the back, Venusaur should close this game out nicely for us. So we're going to go ahead and come in with that Venusaur and farm down with Vine Whip. And remember, we still have Dynamic Punch on our Poliwrath, and we have Frenzy Plant here on Venusaur. So in comes the Walrein. We're going to go ahead and throw the Frenzy Plant, and then we're going to swap right away into the Poliwrath to throw the Dynamic Punch to close this game out. So that is going to be a good game, very well played. This strategy was so much fun to do because if I saw a Swampert lead, I had a feeling there was a Charizard in the back and I would draw it out. What's also great with Chesnaught and Smackdown is it does well against Gyarados, it does well against Dragonite, all of which are very common. So we have a Dragonite here on the lead. This is where you may want Ice Punch instead of Scald. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to fake that we have Ice Punch. I am going to throw Scald right away, but my hope is making them think, since I'm staying in, I have Ice Punch. So we do get a shield, and now we're going to go ahead and swap right away into Chesnaught and start getting ahead on energy, and they're deciding to stay in. So I'm going to go ahead and shield. Maybe they don't have the best answer in the back for Chesnaught, and maybe Dragonite is their answer, which would tell me that Chesnaught and Venusaur are going to do very well. So we're going to go ahead and let this next one go through, as again, it doesn't do too much damage, and in comes a Gyarados. Like I said, Chesnaught with Smackdown does well against Dragonite, Charizard, Gyarados. It's beautiful. An Energy Ball as well does a ton of neutral damage. We also got a Defense Drop right there. This is beautiful. And what's great is Chesnaught also resists most of the charge moves that Gyarados throws. Crunch and Aqua Tail, which means we completely take the mid game. Not that we needed it because Dragonite's just going to come back in, but thankfully we got off a Smackdown right there. That was pretty huge, but what we're going to look to do here is actually come in with Venusaur. I have a bit more health on Venusaur as compared to the Poliwrath, and both Vine Whip and Mudshot are pretty heavily resisted with these typings. So what we're going to do is just shield and farm down. My hope is that maybe they have something like Swampert in the back. In fact, they had an Empoleon, so another water-type Pokemon. And getting ahead on energy with Venusaur would be very beneficial, which definitely paid off for us. So we're going to go ahead and go for the double Frenzy Plant. And then we're going to be swapping into our Poliwrath to look to close this game out with that Dynamic Punch. Even though we will take super effective damage here from Drill Peck, it's honestly not enough to one-shot the Poliwrath with the remaining health that we do have. As you can see, we do survive. Because we resist waterfalls, we are able to get to the Dynamic Punch in time. Now, this game would have worked out a lot better, again, if you had Ice Punch instead of Scald. I don't necessarily think you need the Scald because we do have the Chesnaught with Smackdown. So that is going to be a good game, very well played. I just didn't want to, for this showcase, try to waste a lot of TM cycling through, but if you guys happen to have that moveset. All right, what do we see again? We see a Swampert here on the lead, so I'm going to play it exactly the same. I'm going to anticipate that there is a Charizard in the back. I'm going to look to throw the first charge move. This time I'm going for Scald, hoping for the debuff as well, and we get that attack drop. This means I don't necessarily need to shield the potential Earthquake or Sludge Wave, which is likely going to be coming through. And now I can do that same swap out, and in comes a Charizard. It happens every time. Now, granted, it may not work as well after people start seeing this video if you're watching this, but my gosh, it was entertaining to do it this week every now and then, because you can just completely no shield take down a Charizard unless they build up to the Blast Burn. Now we do see, I believe, a Venusaur is coming in right here. So we're going to hope that we can get to 2 superpowers. Everything's resisted, superpower and energy ball, but going for 2 superpowers is going to be our best bet. Now, there was a Swampert on the lead, so what we're going to have to do is actually try to close this game out with our own Venusaur. And this is still going to be a close one because their Venusaur has so much energy from farming us down that even though we're ahead on health, it's going to be a close game. Now, we still have Poliwrath, and again, would be a bit better if you have Ice Punch. I'm going to keep emphasizing that to you because I think it will have a bit more coverage. So we let that first charge move go through. It was a Sludge Bomb. We can just go straight for Frenzy Plants right here. Even if they decide to swap into the Swampert, catching the charge move would still, what I don't want them to do is catch a Sludge Bomb on Swampert, right? And Frenzy Plant anyways would do enough resisted damage here really to take out the Venusaur at this health. So this is looking to be a good game. It's still going to be a close one. I'm going to be forced to shield right here, give it my final shield, and I got to be careful about that Swampert coming in as well, potentially, and here it comes, because the Hydro Cannon now is going to do a lot of damage, so hopefully we can hang on. I'm going to make sure I farm up to 2. Yeah, I got 2, so I'm going to go ahead and bail out now into Poliwrath and just try to Mudshot as much as I can, because Swampert now is going to be forced to throw the charge move, and what I can do is come in with Venusaur right here, and farm down. Now, I'm just going to straight Mudshot. I want them to be forced to throw energy. Otherwise, I'll just go for back-to-back Scalds here against Swampert. So they are forced to throw, which means Venusaur comes in, farms down, and now I can go for back-to-back Sludge Bombs to close this game. So still a close game right here. My opponent did well to hang in right there, but it's always so satisfying to see Charizards instantly swap into a Chesnaught. I mean, why wouldn't you, right? It's a grass fighting and you have wing attack, right? It seems like a good idea until you start getting hit with Smack Down. All right, next game we got Poliwrath versus Obstagoon. Very positive matchup right here for us because of the dynamic punch damage. So I'm anticipating that they might swap out. And so I overload on energy, and I overloaded, and then they caught it on the overload, on a Trevenant as well, which means this is massively resisted, and I do not have a good answer for Trevenant, unfortunately. I got Sludge Bomb, I got Smackdown damage, and again, Ice Punch. If I had Ice Punch in this situation, it would be beautiful for us. So we're going to let that Shadow Ball go through. I was hoping it was a shield bait, but it wasn't. So now we're actually going to be forced to shield the next Seed Bomb because I want to get off 2 Sludge Bombs right here against the Trevenant because I want to get it low. So I'm happy to go into the 1 shield with them in order to get this Trevenant extremely low. Yes, they will farm me down, but I have Smack Down Chesnaught, which can do that neutral damage and farm down, plus superpower on the back end against Obstagoon is still very, very good for us. So they farm us down. That's fine. I'm going to come in with Chesnaught right here and farm down with Smackdown, hopefully before they can get to a charge move. No, they do get to the Seed Bomb in time, so we're going to go ahead and let this go. Now, we don't know what they have in the back. They had Obstagoon. They have Trevenant. Let's see what that third Pokemon is. I'm hoping it's Charizard, but it's actually going to be a Walrein. So this game is actually very winnable for us. I know I lost switch advantage there with Venusaur into Trevenant, but it paid off very well because Poliwrath can completely close this game out for us. The hardest hitting move left in the game, hopefully, is that Earthquake. And hopefully, I think this was only... I think it was 9, so it can't, yeah, it's just going to be a cross chop, which is fine. So now I can just go straight for Dynamic Punch. We did CMP tie right there, I believe. And we're going to win this game because the Walrein as well is extremely weak to Poliwrath because we resist the Powder Snows and Ice Cold Spears. We just have to watch out for that Earthquake, which we do have 1 shield left for. So we're going to go ahead and throw that up, stop that Earthquake, and now go for the Dynamic Punch to take out the Walrein. And Poliwrath, I was actually very happily surprised. I know Hold on, we're going to do a boom right here. Boom! One-shots it. I know Chesnaught is the feature of this video, catching all those Charizards and locking them in, but Poliwrath really put in a lot of work for me. All right, we got Ampharos on the lead. Really bad lead for us. So we're going to swap into Chesnaught right away, and they're deciding to stay in, and now they come in with Machamp. So we're going to go ahead and go for the Energy Ball here. Yes, I could go for Superpower. It's lower energy, but I think I'm going to get a shield anyways. And I'm hoping that I can survive the cross chop when they decide to throw it and try to get off one superpower. This is going to be extremely close, and no, I don't get to it in time. So I'm actually going to go ahead and let this go through. My thought is if they have Ampharos and maybe Machamp as their safe swap with Rock Slide, maybe they have something like Swampert in the back. So I'm going to hope that Venusaur can sweep this team right here. We'll have to see, but we got to come in with Poliwrath now. Since we got a shield already, we're up 2-to-1 shields, and I should be able to go for this Scald, but it was a CMP tie, and unfortunately, I'm going to let this go. This is going to hurt. Poliwrath is going to get extremely low, which means we are fully trusting in Venusaur to try to sweep based on the team read that I have. It's either going to be one of two things. It's going to be Swampert or Walrein in my mind right here. So we got to swap out right away. In comes the Ampharos, and it was a Walrein in the back. Perfect. This is exactly why we have that 2-to-1 shield advantage, because now we can really control this game, or take control of this game, I should say, with our Frenzy Plant damage, and we still have Poliwrath for a sack swap against the Ampharos if we do need it, that third shield potentially. So they decide to actually let it go through, which allows me to farm down, which is perfect, and now it's going to be Ampharos right here, and I'm guessing they have Brutal Swing, and Brutal Swing is not enough to one-shot Venusaur, but I gotta make sure they don't try to land a Zap Cannon on this first one, because that would be devastating. Even though it is resisted, we do stop the Brutal Swing. We're going to go ahead and go for the Frenzy Plant right here, and then I'm going to look to try to catch the next charge move on Poliwrath. Hopefully, we can pull it off. Let's see, they get one more, and I'm going to go ahead and swap, and we catch it. Beautiful. Ampharos with that timing and the fast moves coming through from Vine Whip. I figured they were going to throw right away. And this now is guaranteed to be another Brutal Swing, which means we can survive and fast move down, and that is going to be a good game, very well played. All right, moving to the next one. We got Poliwrath on the lead versus Venusaur. So a terrible lead. Again, if you guys had Ice Punch, it's not as bad when you come back into it. So we're going to swap into that Chesnaught. And this is a really, really, really bad situation for us, where Venusaur is core breaking Poliwrath and Chesnaught. But thankfully, Sludge Bomb doesn't do too much damage. We are going to shield the first one because they're deciding to stay in, which tells me maybe they're weak in the back. And I'm going to look to put a lot of shield pressure on them. I know Chesnaught can survive this Sludge Bomb right here, so we're going to go ahead and let it go. And then now we're going to go ahead and start going for our superpowers. Had I gone for the superpower first, it would have lowered our defenses, and that Sludge Bomb would have KO'd us, which is why I waited. And now we can fire off these superpowers right here back to back in order to get the Venusaur. We already got a shield from them, which is perfect. It puts us in the one shield. And we get them low enough where our own Venusaur can now safely come in and fully farm down. We might be forced to shield 2 Sludge Bombs, but it depends on how much energy they can get here, as this first one is actually just a Frenzy Plant, which really pays off for us. We're going to go ahead and just farm down now with Vine Whip, and they do get to a Sludge Bomb here in time, which is fine. We can still let this go. We are pretty healthy right here, and we'll have to see what they have in the back, but considering they didn't swap out anything into Chesnaught, means it might be water Pokemon. Let's see. First Pokemon up is going to be Walrein. Okay, so there's one. This is their best answer now to a Venusaur, which tells me it's probably a Swampert as well in the back. We land it. We're going to go ahead and swap now into Poliwrath. Again, we can survive the Earthquake, and in comes the Swampert. So that was a really good read right there. It looked really dicey in that mid-game, but again, my opponent decided to stay in, which told me, you know what, maybe Venusaur might have some play to sweep this team, and Poliwrath as well can sweep right here for us because of the moveset, the typings. Things are looking very good. We let the Earthquake go through, not too worried about that damage. I just want to make sure that my Venusaur has a shield for the Icicle Spear that we're likely going to have to stop against the Walrein. So we're going to go ahead and farm down. They do get to another charge move, which I'm not too worried about. Again, it's Venusaur's show here to sweep this game. Hydro Cannon does not take us out, which means we can Mud Shot down. We're going to go ahead and go for Dynamic Punch now to force that final shield from my opponent. And I believe this was a CMP tie right here because they didn't put through a fast move. So, yes, it was perfect. So we can go ahead, safely let this go through. Our Venusaur has a Frenzy Plant ready to go. We're going to go ahead and fire that thing, and that is going to be a good game. Very well played. This team was a lot of fun to use. Very spicy, very fun. Perfectly fitting for this meta based on the Pokemon that I see. And the Chesnaught safe swap was just so satisfying against the Charizards. All right, we got a Sirfetch'd here on the lead. Again, another Pokemon where it could be very deadly. Again, they have Leaf Blade, so I tried to catch the Leaf Blade right there, and I didn't catch it. And now this could be a Brave Bird. So I'm going to go ahead and shield. And it was a Brave Bird. Thankfully, we stopped that right there, and they decide to swap into Lapras. This is actually a really good situation for us. We are already doing super effective damage with Smack Down. Superpower as well is going to be very hard hitting. So as long as we let this surf through and load up to double superpower right here, we go for 1. We're going to go ahead and get shield pressure on them. So we do get a shield right there. We should be able to get to another one here in time. And this might force the second shield. I don't think it will, considering it's going to do significantly less damage. But we land it anyways, which is perfect. And they farm us down. Now, we're going to come back in with that Poliwrath. Remember, the Sirfetch'd is out of energy. We're going to go ahead and farm down. This is going to be a Skull Bash. They've built up to 8 after fully farming down Chesnaught. So I got to let this go because I don't necessarily need a shield. But they decide to swap into Sirfetch'd, which means I can go for this Scald right here to apply some shield pressure. They let it go through, so I'm going to go ahead and swap into Venusaur. And that was only 6 counters right there. That is not enough for Brave Bird. So I'm going to go ahead and let it go, hoping that it is Leaf Blade. And it was perfect. If it was Night Slash, that would have been okay too. And let's see what that final Pokemon is going to be. It's going to be another Swampert. So Venusaur putting in a lot of work here in the end of this video as well. And this team was so much fun to use. Poliwrath, Venusaur, and Chesnaught. Poliwrath did great at core breaking a lot of teams, especially with Walrein and Swampert. Chesnaught absolutely dominated the skies against the Charizard, the Gyarados, the Dragonite, and Venusaur swept a lot of teams that were running double water in the back. So couldn't be more happy with this strategy. So hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and like always, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.